Bad news for Senator Lisa Murkowski in Alaska. The Alaska GOP recently had a vote, and they voted to endorse her challenger, Kelly Tshibaka. You might remember Kelly Tshibaka came on this podcast a few weeks ago. A very dynamic person, and by the way, a very solid candidate for the Senate. This is not some fly-by-night person who's just running on a kind of rebel platform. Kelly Tshibaka, by the way, is she's married, she's a mom, she's a Harvard law grad. She's worked in the IG, the Inspector General Office of the Department of Justice, and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. She was the Chief Data Officer of the Postal Service, and she served as Alaska's Commissioner of Administration from 2019 until she resigned this year or last year to pursue her Senate run. Now, the vote against Murkowski was pretty decisive, 58-17. I think what this means is that there's a broader meaning here. Not only does it mean that there's a rage against Murkowski and people like her for voting to impeach Trump, but it is a sign, I think, that this never Trump phenomenon has sort of no future in the Republican Party. Liz Cheney is basically kind of a walking corpse, a sort of political zombie in Wyoming. Adam Kinzinger is kind of a dead duck and basically probably looking to a future on MSNBC or one of the left-wing networks to be their sort of token Republican. Oh, see, we've got a bipartisan views over here. And Murkowski is in trouble, and she knows it. Now, what are her options? The last time around, she came to political prominence mainly because of her dad, Frank Murkowski, the former, who was the governor. So essentially, she kind of inherited that seat. Now, she did have a sort of Tea Party challenger, but she was pretty successful by running as an independent and being able to outmaneuver the Tea Party challenger. So this was a surprise win in 2010, I believe. Yes, 2010. But now there are leftists who are telling Lisa Murkowski, you need to become a Democrat because you're finished in the Republican Party. You're not even probably going to get the nomination, which would be astounding, a sitting senator losing the nomination in her own party. But it's the precedent for Lisa Murkowski going to the Democratic side is not good either. By and large, when Republicans become Democrats, they might think they're going to be welcome to the Democratic Party, and they sort of are for about 5 minutes. After that, the Democrats realize, well, we don't need these fake Democrats. We have real Democrats. This happened, by the way, to Arlen Specter. Arlen Specter, you might remember from the 1980s. He actually played a kind of honorable role in the Bork hearings. But Specter was a Republican for about 30 years in the Senate. But then what happened is he realized that the Republican Party in Pennsylvania had become more conservative, that he actually had a good chance to lose the GOP nomination. And so he decided, I'm gonna switch parties. And he said, quote, I know I'm disappointing many of my colleagues, but he says the disappointment runs in both directions, meaning he's just as disappointed with the Republican Party as the Republican Party is disappointed with him. But what happened was that when Specter became a Democrat, he ran in the Democratic Party and he lost in the primary and his career was finished. So that's the last we heard of Arlen Specter. You might, if you're younger, you might not even remember who's Arlen Specter. Well, exactly. Arlen Specter discovered that crossing the party line was essentially the death knell for his political career. So this is the problem for these never Trump types. They're unwelcome in the Republican Party, and they're only useful to the Democrats as a truncheon to beat the Republicans. But once they really become Democrats, then their usefulness to that degree is lost. They become dead weight to be cast humiliatingly to the side of the road.